Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video I'm going to be doing a review of the album Victims of the Night by Halloween. This is their third album, and it was released in 1997. So before I get into the songs, I'm going to name off the band members really quick, which I have to look at this album because even though the band members are credited on this one, uh, it doesn't say what they do. Although I know that Brian Thomas is the vocalist. So hold on, let me open this up. Brian Thomas on vocals, Rick Craig on guitar, George Neal on bass, and Bill White on drums. All right, so the album opens up with sort of a atmospheric intro track, which honestly is extremely unnecessary. I believe it was either this album or the one that came before it. What was it called? No One Gets Out. It was either No One Gets Out or this one where they started the trend of weird atmospheric intro tracks. And yeah, it is really dumb and it just isn't needed. They also did the same thing on the album Horror Fire. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what their obsession with those intro track things were, but yeah, not a very good way to start off the album because it's just there and unnecessary. But it's not terrible. It's just unnecessary. Um. Anyway, so the next song is called Welcome, which should have been the opening track, honestly. It feels fitting as an opening track. Like, it should have been the intro. Like, not the intro, the opening track. Because it's very bombastic, very, I don't want to say epic, but it's very, energetic. It's very energetic, and it really helps to sort of bring you in interest in like when you're listening. Like with the intro track, it's just kind of meh, but like with Welcome, it really sets the stage for the rest of the album, and it's just a really good song. Again, very energetic, and just again should have been the opening track. Um, Next up is the song called No Place. This is the ballad of the album. Kind of like with their first album, they have a ballad on here called Justice for All. Now, this ballad is really good. I wouldn't say it's better than the ballad on the first album, but it's still very enjoyable, very emotional ballad. It's sort of a song that really sort of like encapsulates the feeling of homesickness and missing your home. You know, when you're out somewhere, you know, when you're out, you know, traveling long distances. It's sort of that's sort of really what the song is about. Homesickness when you're on a travel far away and you just miss home. And I think they really captured that feeling very well within the song. Yeah, great song, great ballad. I absolutely love it. The next song is called Rest in Peace. This is their heaviest and fastest song on the album. It's a very speedy song. Hell, I'd even say it's almost sort of proto speed metal kind of song. It's very it's very heavy, not in a sense that like anything's down tuned or anything, but I mean heavy in a sense that it really has sort of a punch to it that has the energy as well as the just the feel of it. This song is structured kind of interestingly as well. It's sort of like it has the main riff, but it also has like it would be the main riff, and then it stops. Has a very sort of small miniature guitar solo type thing. Then the riff keeps on going, and it's sort of a pattern. And then, of course, the main guitar solo in the middle of the song. But just the way the guitar riff itself is structured, and then the little like bits of guitar solo they put, they weave into the main riff. Is really cool. I don't think I've ever sort of listened to another song that's structured quite like this in terms of the way the riff is. It's really good. Again, very speed metal-esque. And again, probably the heaviest song on the album as well. But yeah, great song. And then the next song is called Candy Cane. This one's a slower, more moodier song. It's sort of more of a glam metal style song. As for those who don't know, back in the 80s, Halloween was sort of a mashup of glam metal and traditional heavy metal styles, which shows a lot on their first album, by the way. This one, they're a little bit more geared more towards, traditional heavy metal, but they still do have that, glam metal side to them as well, especially with Brian Thomas's vocals on a lot of these songs. They're very glam metal-esque. And this song, I'd say, out of any songs on here, I'd say this is the most glam metal out of any of them. Really, really good. I'm not complaining. I'm not saying it's bad whatsoever. But this is notable that, Candy Cane is the glam metal song on here, whereas the rest are slightly more traditional heavy metal, oriented. Very, very chugging, very catchy, well put together guitar riff. Again, Brian Thomas's vocals are as great as always. This song, from what I can understand from it, this is a song about, apparently there's this, there's this story, set up here. There's this, a woman nicknamed Candy Cane, and apparently she's very manipulative, and her whole scheme is that she'll find someone who's single, sort of go out with them, date them, and get very close to them, and then she'll, kill the person, steal their money and items and, whatever else they have, then move on to the next person, get friendly with them, get all their stuff and money, kill them, and then keep on that cycle. And then near the end of the song, there's this one guy who actually figures out her plan and is just like, is just like, I'm out of here. He just sort of like says, stay away from me, and he just sort of like, he flees and he gets away where the other people, are already dead, but, he's the last survivor of her sort of murderous spree. But yeah, great song. And then the next song is actually my favorite song on the album, and quite possibly my favorite song from this band. It's a contender with this song and the song Candles from their fourth album. But the next song is called Nightmares. It's sort of a slower, moodier, sort of more atmospheric type song. It's not heavy in terms of, the way it is. It's sort of, it's not a ballad, but it has the feel of a ballad in terms of it's again a little bit slower, a little bit more atmospheric and moody. Has a great, memorable guitar riff, great solo. You can really hear the bass work in this song as well. The vocals are great. It's a really good, well-crafted song. That was actually the first song by the band I ever heard. Not on this album. I heard it on YouTube at some point. But oh yeah, speaking of this song, there is a live version of the song. Look it up on YouTube. There's a live version of the song Nightmares, which is arguably even better than the studio version. Just look up like Halloween and then the song Nightmares, and then type in live Halloween Nightmares live 1986. It shows up right away. The live version is the first ever song. Again, the first ever song from the band I ever heard. Really, really good. Again, arguably maybe even better than the studio version of the song. But yeah, great song. Again, very memorable riff. Like this riff is so good and so memorable that it gets stuck in your head for days. But you never even get tired of it because it's so good. Like, and the song itself, again, as a whole, is so good as well. So yeah, it's one of those songs it's so good that even if it gets stuck on your in your head for a while, you never want it to go away because it's just so good. Um, the next song is an instrumental called Angel. It's okay. It's not bad, but like with the intro track, it's not needed. But it's a decent instrumental, I guess. Um, the next song is called Love 'Em and Lose 'Em. Honestly, I don't like this song. It's not a bad song. It just doesn't click with me though. Like, I don't know. It just kind of sort of halts the flow of the album in a way, I guess. Just because it doesn't really fit. I don't know. But Love 'Em Lose 'Em, decent song, but I don't know. I just don't really, I don't think it's that, memorable, but whatever. And then the next song is called Children of the Witches. Honestly, this should have been the closing track. Children of the Witches is a great song. Great instrumentation, great vocals. Really, probably my favorite guitar solo in terms of a song on this album. The guitar solo is super good. But yeah, this should have been the closing track. Now we get to the actual closing track called Revelations 23:1, The Dream. I mean, it's a decent song. It doesn't really, in my opinion, fit as a closing track. But I do think the song itself is pretty good. Yeah. So that's what ends off the album. So before I get into my final thoughts and the rating, I'm gonna, sort of look show off the artwork and stuff really quick. The artwork for this album is really good. Definitely more of an artwork than their first album, which is just, a black background with a orange border and the logo as well as the name of the album. This one is more of an actual artwork, sort of album cover. As you can see, you get the more well-known version of the Halloween logo up there with the sort of like CGI'd metallic-looking, lettering with the jack-lantern face right there, which is their mascot, by the way. Really cool. Not my favorite version of the logo. I'd say the original version of the logo that was drawn by Brian Thomas himself is my favorite version of the logo. But this one's pretty good, even though you can obviously tell it's CGI. It's still not bad. And then you get of course Victims of the Night in this sort of bright sort of scarlet red font that kind of looks like blood dripping down. Kind of reminds me of the original Cannibal Corpse logo. How it was sort of looked like, some like the name of the thing was scrolled on blood in the wall or something. Yeah, very cool. And then in the background, it's sort of like a pumpkin patch late at night, like a pumpkin patch with like fog and mist swirling about, as well as there's some buildings in the background there. And then on the back, the artwork continues. You do get the track listing there, as well as a full view of their mascot, perched atop a tombstone. Yeah, their mascot changed over time. Like, it's the same mascot they had since the beginning, but just the look of it's changed drastically over the years. Like, it originally was just, this. And then, later on, it became this, as well as, this gargoyle-looking thing with the pumpkin head. And then on their newest album, which I guess you could say isn't really a new album anymore because it came out in 2012. But on their newest album, it has a completely overhauled design. So yeah, their mascot really cool looking, but inconsistent when it comes to the overall design. And then also there's some like sort of old crumbling castle ruins in the background as well. And then, of course, this bright red moon. So overall, very good album. Very good follow-up. Because this album, honestly, was actually supposed to be their second album, not their third. Oh yeah, so this album was recorded in 1986, but wasn't released until 1997. Yeah, it was recorded in 1986, not released till 1997. Now, there's a good reason for that. Sometime around 1986, after they completed the recording this album, the band broke up briefly. And then when they got back, when the band got back together around like 88, 89-ish, with two new members, by the way, only half the band came back. Of course, Brian Thomas and I believe the other guy, I can't remember who it was. But the band got back, and for whatever reason, instead of releasing the album they already had completed, they shelved it and started from scratch, which is pretty much why No One Gets Out is such a bad album, because it's so rushed and sloppily put together and thrown out as soon as possible, and thrown out to the public as soon as possible. But yeah, so this album was supposed to be their second album, but ended up being their third album. And that's why when going through their discography, like, this album sounds a lot more has a lot more in common with this album, their first album, than with their technically second album. Because by their second album, No One Gets Out, which was released in 91, I believe, they already sort of completely shed their glam metal side and were heavy metal, but were kind of 90s heavy metal, to where it was, a lot drastically heavy guitar tuning, very, ferocious, and pretty much 90s heavy metal in a nutshell, in terms of the mainstream stuff. Very heavy, overly, down-tuned guitars and super pounding. Whereas this, which came out after that album, after No One Gets Out, it doesn't sound like that. It sounds, like their first album, traditional, 80s heavy metal combined with, 80s glam metal. Yeah, so overall, this is a very good album. Now, as a rating, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It's near perfect. Like, the only issues I have with it are the intro not being that memorable, or not being needed. The intro not being needed, and the last song, Revelations of the Dream, I think doesn't fit as a closing track. But those are kind of minor nitpicks, because the rest of the album is so good. Like, the songs on here, on this album, are some of the best songs put to record for this band. Yeah, I love majority of the songs on here. Yeah, it's a 9 out of 10, an almost perfect album. Not quite perfect, but it's still an absolute masterpiece in my opinion. But yeah. So that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.